I guess what you really need to decide is what will you use for outreach? What's going to make sense to them? What's going to make a difference to them? Because it's not just that you want to get through; it's that you want to break through in a way that has them saying, "Oh my God, look what I love the way this. I love the way you think. Of course, we're going to meet." You know, you really want to get people excited. So it's not just. I mean, you could shoot a flare off by their window to get their attention, and you probably won't get a meeting. But doing it in a way that really grabs their attention and sort of captivates their imagination and opens the floodgates. They are really interested in meeting you. It's not just getting their attention. So you're going to have to come up with that. And as you rightly point out, a lot of these things, all of these things, really going to involve some level of personalization. I mean, you're not just going to send candy to them, right? And not write a note. Unless you can at least write a note to them, you'll address it to them.
For salespeople, unless you've got like I Crush quota candy, which we send to people. But dude, I love that Wall Street Journal ad. That sounds amazing. I got to figure out how to get the budget for something like that.
You don't have to spend that much, though. That's the good news. And sometimes you don't have to spend anything. I mean, one guy sent me a block of wood to get my attention. He just mailed it to me. Like, and I don't mean in a box.
Was there anything on the block of wood that he said?
Yeah, my address and a stamp.
He said, like, call me? Or like, what did it say on the wood?
Did you get my contact device? I did, and I loved it. I said, this is so audacious. It's just a block of wood.
When your sales management or sales leader is giving you things that they like about and what needs improved, a lot of salespeople, what we've seen is they get offended, they don't listen, they shut down, they don't want to hear it, they think that they're the best. And, I don't know, what's your advice for people like that are getting feedback, good and bad, from management and don't know how to react to it? They take it offensive. Like, what's your advice so that they don't take offense to it?
This is the mindset that I have, and this is why, again, I don't like getting criticized, right? I'm not like, let me preface here. I'm not sitting here like, all right, great, John's gonna grill me today. Like, I'm excited. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But this is like, that's not exciting. But what is exciting, we gotta think about is like, it's short-term and long-term. And everything really comes down to these two things, short-term and long-term. So my thing is, would you rather have a short-term pain of being kind of, hey, look, like this is why you suck, or this is why you need to improve, like this is what you need to get better on, like these are your deficiencies, then the long term of you never uncovered those. So like you have the long term of missing deals, not hitting quota, like being at the bottom, like never excelling in your career, never growing. And because you can't do these things, now you can't provide it for your family. Now you don't have any income. Like that's dark. But what I'm saying is that like, I'd rather have the short term of like, this is why you're not doing good, so then we can correct it, than the long-term deficiencies of me avoiding it, but it's actually hurting me in the long term. And now like long term, I can't get the results I can get because I've been evading myself for the short term. That's really how I think about it every single time.
Any tips and tricks for the audience as they're thinking about building those profitable relationships that maximize value for the customer versus the hard sell? Like, what are some good hacks or ways that you do that?
I mean, for one, it's all about what you know, right? Because everything's now on the internet. Like everything's on the internet, especially for real estate agents. Everything's online. There are discount agents everywhere. Like, why should they use you? People are going to use you and they're going to pay you because you know more than what the internet is telling them. And if you don't take the time to research and know your shit, then why should anyone use you? You know, if you're lucky and you have a good smile and a great handshake and you're a good person, then great, you'll do some deals. But people don't use me because I'm on TV. Like, people use me because when I sit in a room, I look them in the eye and I tell them exactly what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And I tell them all the facts about things that they had no idea about, because all I did was do my homework. Like, it's not, this is not brain surgery.
Your research and you memorize.
Exactly. So it's knowing your stuff so that when you go into those meetings, you meet new people, they're like, I could do this online, but Ryan seems like he knew more about this. Let me ask him, right? And that relationship is then built through like knowledge that way. Like, you could negotiate your own contracts without an attorney, but you oftentimes use attorneys because you're like, I'm pretty sure this guy's going to help me and protect me. And he went to school for 3 years and fuck it, I'll pay him for it because I'm too busy doing my own life. And it's also little things like just the way you show property, right? Like, one thing I like to do is, whether it's showing property or showing anything else, like people need to feel like their decision is their own. Have you seen that movie Inception?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, with Leonardo.
Amazing movie.
One of your clients, right?
At one time, yeah. An amazing movie. And the idea that you can plant an idea in someone's head, like, is really what sales is about. I can't drag a horse to water, right? And it's kind of the same thing, like a watch pot never boils. If I stare at a pot, like, you're like, when is this water gonna boil?
Yeah.
But if you set things up in motion so that somebody will make the decision you wanted them to make all along, then it's their idea and it's their decision to do it, and you're just going along for the ride, even though you planted the seeds along the way.
What are your thoughts around, like, people cranking? Do you feel like they're keeping the activity up, or you feel like it's getting lazy?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both, but from the standpoint that the world's kind of become multi-channel. Most decision makers, as you know, are mobile these days. So they're not sitting behind the desk like they were in 1992. Since the advent of the cell phone and the iPhone in particular, about 10, 11 years ago, things have changed. So you got to have a combination of phone, email, and social. The big crutch that I see, though, among young folks in particular, is they use the excuse that they've got to do all this pre-call research. And in many cases, I think that's to get away from the fear of rejection. You know, one of the things, if I could instill among SDRs in particular, is there's no way around what I call the grind. I don't care who you're calling, what you're selling, what personas you're talking to. 80 to 85% of the time, nobody's home and nobody's interested. Can you survive the grind to get to the 10 to 15% that say, what do you got, Brandon? And most folks can't. And so in order to avoid the grind and the rejection that's going to come with an inevitable interaction with a big persona, we want to spend 20, 30 minutes researching the company and try and craft an email, for example, that's going to overcome every objection before they even hit us with it. And that simply is a recipe for failure. So you have to get into your mindset. Maybe it's not 300 or 400 calls, because, you know, there are many cases that you're going to want to leave a voicemail. It does help you build a brand. But there's no reason why you can't do 50 to, in some cases, 100 calls a day. And you could easily do that many or more emails, even if you've got to send them after hours. And set aside 30 minutes to an hour a day, whether it's in one block or two blocks in particular, to reach out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
You probably can't tell a 2 or 3 minute story in a cold call, because you interrupted someone and you start some story and they don't want to listen to a story at that point. But you can tell part of a story. So, you know, one of the reasons that Netflix is, I'm convinced of this, one of the reasons that Netflix is one of the fastest growing companies is for a very simple thing that they do. At the end of an episode, they go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds to the next episode. And most people cannot stop themselves going, shit, what's the next episode? I've got to listen to the next one, right? We binge read because Netflix has nailed the story of the episode, the next episode, the next episode, the next episode, right? And that's what an SDR can do. Hey, Joe, I'm leaving a voice message. I've just got the results back from our research. You won't believe this. Our guys were looking at a company like yours and they investigated this and they thought it was going to be that, and it turned out to be something completely different. I want to have a chat with you about it. Now, I've told the first half of an insight story, and the guy gets the voicemail. Now, people don't answer voicemails back, but he heard your name and he heard something, and his brain is going, I wonder how that thing ended. Just like Netflix, right? So you're telling half a story. You're telling the first half. I don't tell you about someone he works just down the road from you. He's not in pharmaceuticals, but he's in the chemistry industry. And he had this huge problem. And I wonder if I could tell you what happened there. So you're telling half a story. So you're using half an insight story or half a success story in either your email or your voicemail or your cold call to get the other person wanting to hear the rest of the story. And that's the clue for SDRs. The trick is half a story. almost no one knows this branding. The good SDRs do it without knowing they're doing it, actually. They're very clever at this. They don't blurt the whole thing out.